really interesting work. I'm curious how you developed a trust and a rapport with your campus leadership to let you do these things, and how have they been received, and is that kind of an ongoing, evolving relationship?
Jack, you should identify yourself. Well, this is Jack Ahern, professor emeritus, who also has been on the Arboretum committee, the Frankwell Arboretum is the campus here, so he has lots of experience.
For example, I made a meadow over here, and the mistake I made was kind of just going, I got permission, but I kind of went rogue, and there was an uproar. People thought it was unattractive and weedy and it disappeared. You know, so I have a lot of scars from trying to do such things. So I'm quite curious about your story.
You know, I think we've had definitely mixed experiences. I think it's about finding the right people that are excited about these kinds of projects and ideas. We're very lucky at Ohio State to have this Waterman Farm because faculty are allowed to request space within the farm to pursue research projects. I think the research projects that we've pursued there are particularly unusual. You know, most of them are sort of measuring carbon sequestration or something like that. But the manager of that facility happens to be very forward-thinking. He has his own farm and actually a historic prairie that has been passed down in his family in rural Ohio. So he is used to maintaining prairie and appreciates its value. So he was very supportive in helping me implement that project. I will say somebody higher up above him had my meadow mowed down in winter because he thought it looked messy, and he was cleaning up the farm for winter, which of course means you destroy important habitat for a lot of species over the cold months. So things like that have certainly happened. Do you want to add anything?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Extremely inspiring, and I think everybody can find all of the landscapes that are maintained and all of that all the time. But they're everywhere. How do you that's also like a very important question. How do you integrate it in the curriculum where, how much time, you know, where, at what stage, grad, undergrad? I want to know more detail because I think we should do that these kind of things here too.
Yeah, so our program, our seminars are usually mixed with advanced undergraduates.
The seminar.
Yeah, so in many cases, we've pursued some of this work through seminars. So I have this walking seminar. I also have a seminar that I've taught a couple of times where we have greenhouse space in one of the OSU greenhouses, and we've found a leftover plot of land that I got permission to use, and the students grow plants from seed and then design and plant out those plants into this plot. And it's kind of passed down from year to year, and it's sort of ever evolving and becoming more complex. So that's another example. But we really make a concerted effort to get out of the studio space and into the landscape as much as possible.
Yeah. So I taught a studio called Midwestern Aesthetics of Care. And that was a graduate studio, an advanced graduate studio. And the first running of it was during COVID because we spent a lot of time outside. We met with gardeners, we met with people from environmental and natural resources who were doing work on various campus sites, and did a lot of field work that inspired the final projects. And the deliverables in that studio were one, they had to develop their own land ethic, but they also had to present regimes of care. So rather than presenting a fixed final plan, they were presenting one possible manifestation of their basically guides for intervention and rules for engaging with the landscape.
And I would just add, actually COVID, I think, was, we have always been doing a lot of teaching outdoors, but actually COVID actually augmented that because the alternative was so unpleasant,
Yeah.
right? So it was kind of another opportunity to meet outside.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit more about your experience with residencies? I'm interested if you're applying as artists or as landscape architects or a blending of the two. Do you integrate them into the sabbatical, or, I mean, I've never thought of residencies as opportunities for landscape architects before until now, so it's really interesting. Are there land-focused artist residencies?
There are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't share work from this, but we used to share installations that we did through the Center for Land Use Interpretation, which is this sort of wonderful organization out of Los Angeles that looks at landscapes that
What do they look
it looks
at?
at landscapes that want you to look away, basically, right? It's investigating and cataloging and reflecting back on American landscapes that are either military landscapes or infrastructural landscapes or waste landscapes. And it's primarily an organization run by two people, but they have historically had a residency adjacent to the Bonneville Salt Flats in a very unusual part of Utah on the border with Nevada. So that's a great landscape architectural residency program. Yeah, they're great to know about.
It's just you in the desert.
Yeah.
So it's quite,
Sounds lovely.
it's great, but it's quite different than like McDowell, for instance, where it's much more of a community.
I have a question, which I don't mean to be too open-ended, but when you talk about a prairie, it implies a certain percentage of what we would call native species, right? And so by seeding and hand weeding, you can achieve that percentage, and so it's ecologically considered a prairie. How do you feel about other situations where that level of maintenance and care wouldn't be involved, that would involve a higher percentage of species that would be considered non-native? Because I don't know about Ohio, but here that's what you'll get without a lot of work. So how do you feel about that? And do you feel that non-native meadows that just come up and actually are functioning ecologically are different or worse or okay or to be avoided? Or?
So the prairie project that I shared is a true native prairie. It's 100% native plants except for a few of the kind of interlopers and invasive. But then in our project that's currently under construction, we're calling it a prairie with 9 rooms, but how we're defining prairie in that case is much more broad. So
it would be more like a novel ecosystem.
Right.
yeah.
Volunteer,
Yeah.
spontaneous.
Yeah.
No, we think that's great. I mean, I think that's also part of the Rome work, like appreciating and finding value in that.
Is Wall Rocket native there?
Into Rome.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. It's a good question. Yes.
Thank you for this talk. What a way to close out the week. I'm really glad to be here. I wanted to ask you about your parametric modeling, and if you could speak a little bit more about how you use that in your practice and maybe pedagogy and where you take them.
Yeah, I mean, it arose out of my desire to do a better job of communicating complexity in the landscape and like the full scope of biodiversity in places like Katie's Prairie, and in the Parcel Project, the kind of complexity that we were beginning to see. I felt like the drawings that I was doing, relying on conventional hatches and swatches from Illustrator and CAD, were just like not doing it and underserving what actually exists. And drawings are so critical, I think, to like, I think landscape architecture is a drawing discipline among other things, and I just feel like we can do better. A lot of parametric software, I think, came into fashion and then quickly fell out of fashion because the form making got so tired so quickly. But I feel like it's really underrated as a drawing tool, and that we can employ it in landscape architecture in ways that are kind of unusual and that show a lot of the complexity that gets lost and gets flattened through software that doesn't have the capacities of something like Blender or like Grasshopper. And I also, I'm teaching courses that are asking students to draw these interesting species-rich landscapes, and they're like, well, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, I mean, you could, spend an eternity trying to draw these specimens individually, or you can draw them in such a way that's like, radically simplifying what you're actually doing. Neither of which made a lot of sense or was satisfying to me or to the student. And so that sort of compelled me to try to come up with an alternative. So it's relatively recent work, but it's been interesting. And I'll just add one more thing, which is that it's been really great at documenting landscapes that are already growing, and it feels okay at making design drawings that are projective, but it still at this point feels like it's less naturally suited to that, and so I'm still kind of working through that. Yeah.
Last fall, the juniors in our program did a studio. It was like a land use planning studio. The site was in Fall River, Mass, and we took some inspiration from your work. We were asked to create a maintenance regime for the site, like over a 50-year period. And one of the things that like really kind of tripped us up was our instructors they asked us to involve the public in carrying out the maintenance regime. And I was really like, what degree of luck or experience have you guys had with having like actual public participation in these like novel strategies you've been coming up with?
We involve our students a lot, but we have not involved the public in actually acting on the sites that we've been working with. We are very eager and want the public to use the sites and enjoy them, but that hasn't actually been something that we've worked on. It's a good question.
A wonderful talk. I was wondering, the slides you showed, are they documented in publications the students could look at? If they want to go back and look at this, or if they missed the talk, where would they find information on what you presented?
Yeah. Most of this is on our website. A lot of it is on our Instagrams. We just made an Instagram for our joint work, so you can check that out too.
A little bit through some of our publications.
Some publications. We have design research that's going to appear in a book about landscape architectural design research that is hopefully coming out this year.
Any more questions? The people should come up and meet or Katie if they want. Otherwise, thank you very much.